Hello, YouTube. Welcome to my channel. My name is Skip. This is a place where we're trying to figure out if the last years of our lives can be the best years of our lives. Someone once said that the only thing in this life that you can count on are death and taxes. Probably true, but I would add a third, and that's change. Because change rolls around in our lives like clockwork. And it seems like the older that we get, the more accelerated is that change in our lives. Some people love the idea of change. They kind of thrive on it. Other people, kind of shy away from it. But I think in the end, we all like the idea of change. It's why New Year's resolutions are so popular. And it's also why New Year's resolutions fall apart very quickly. Because while we like the idea of change, we don't really like what we have to do to get there. And so we love the idea of losing weight until we get hungry. And we love the idea of being fit until the alarm goes off at 5 in the morning to tell us to go to the gym. Change is difficult, but change happens in our lives, whether we like it or not. There's a prayer that's very widely known because it comes from the recovery movement and the 12 steps. It's called the Serenity Prayer. And it says, God, grant me the serenity, or grant me the peace, grant me the grace to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The author speaks of two different kinds of change. There's a change that is forced on me that I don't have any control over, like those wrinkles that show up around my eyes or sagging skin. Or it's when I'm kind of forced to retire because I've aged out and they want to replace me with somebody younger and way better looking. It could be the loss of a pet, or the loss of a friend, or even the loss of a partner. Change happens. Did you know that a little bit of trivia, in America, over $30 billion a year is spent on products and procedures to keep us from looking old, trying to change something that we have absolutely no control over. And besides all that, there are people, right? People that you would like to change, people that in your mind need to change. The change from being apart from your spouse all day long because one of you or both of you are at a different workplace, to all of a sudden you're in the same place 24 hours a day, cooped up in the same house. Man, those are people changes that are really sometimes difficult to navigate. And on top of that, the world is changing so fast. Nobody delivers a phone book to your house anymore. You can't shop for Christmas for your grandchildren in a Sears and Roebuck catalog. And just when you think you figured out how to email, the app changes and it looks different today than it did yesterday. Then there are changes in our lives that are changes that we're forced to bring on, and they're scary and they're difficult. Like maybe you realize that it's time to retire, but the uncertainty of what's beyond that is almost paralyzing to actually think about. Or maybe it's time to sell the house. It's too big. You can't keep up with it. There's just two of you in a 4-bedroom house. It's time to downsize. But that house has stories. That house has memories. Your kids grew up in that house. And letting go of it is really, really difficult. In the months leading up to my retirement, I knew I was retiring, and I was thinking a lot about what it would be like. I thought about trips that we could take. We were investigating, RV world and which RV did we want, and that all sounded glamorous and exciting. I thought about spending all this time with my perfect grandchildren. I thought about what it'd be like to have no scheduled meetings in an entire week. Man, that would be just amazing. I was a pastor for most of my career, and so I would dream about Sunday mornings when I could get up in my pajamas and drink coffee and binge on Sunday morning news shows. But what I didn't give much thought to was the social interactions, the relationships that came from being in the office every day. I didn't give much thought to the fulfillment that I actually received from my job, from going to bed tired and waking up excited about the next day. I didn't think about what it was like to actually be bored with not much to do. I guess I didn't know what I didn't know. And I think that's normal because until we get into it, we can't really figure it out. But we've got to kind of figure this thing out as we go, right? Retirement, you can't plan it all. You got to figure it out because stuff happens along the way. And for me, 5 years in, I'm still trying to figure this thing out. But there's a couple of things that I would say that have been helpful in that process. One is we've got to learn to actually acknowledge that this season is difficult. Earlier I mentioned, or last episode, I think I mentioned that we lived in an RV and traveled for 3 years. And about a year ago, we sold the RV and the truck and we moved into an apartment here in Nashville that's just a few minutes from 4 of our grandkids. And we were excited about it. But about 6 months in of being here, we were like struggling and we weren't sure why. And we were talking about it and we came to realize that we underestimated the understandably difficult transition from RV life to apartment life. There was nothing wrong with us. We weren't doing anything wrong. It's just a difficult transition to make. And I think that just acknowledging that, just saying that out loud is incredibly helpful in coping with the transition and with the change. The other thing that I'm really trying to learn is that this is not a test. This is not like pass, fail. I think I've lived so much of my life thinking it was a test. Like I have to get this perfect. I have to get this right. This is not a test. This is about growth. This is about learning who I am. It's about learning how I react in situations. And most importantly, it's about learning about what can change in me. And so pretty much every day, I pray that serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And then there's another affirmation that I repeat almost every day. It goes like this: I graciously accept everything that comes to me today. All thoughts, feelings, emotions, persons, situations, and conditions. My friends, change happens. It's tough, but you're tough. One of the advantages of being older is that you have been through a hell of a lot in your life and you've handled it. and you've come through on the other side. So you can handle the change that's coming at you now. And remember, you're not dead, so you're not done. Before you go, be sure to hit subscribe down below. It'd be a really help to me in getting all of this out. And so until the next time, cheers.